Hey there, friends. It's Pastor Derek, and I am bringing you today's daily dose of hope, which actually begins what we're going to call the Being Challenge. Many of you were with us throughout the Red Letter Challenge, and we are beginning phase 2 of the Red Letter Challenge titled the Being Challenge. Now, the idea behind the Being Challenge is that we have these keystone habits that we want to develop in our lives as part of who we are as followers of Christ. And so I'm outside right now in our current worship space as we wrap up the month of October. We will wrap that up right out here outside our worship pavilion. But as we do that, I want you to think about our very first keystone habit, and that's committing to community. Community is such a fantastic and phenomenal idea, and we take it for granted. We don't really think about the implications of community all that often, but community is important because the very, very first time that God says that something is not quite right happens all the way back in Genesis chapter 2. As a matter of fact, Genesis chapter 2 verse 18 tells us that God was pleased with everything in creation. He was pleased with the sun and the moon and the stars and the land and the water, and he was pleased with man, and he was pleased with everything. But in Genesis 2 verse 18, it tells us that he was not happy that man was alone. You see, one of the most dangerous things for you and I to be going through in life is to feel like we're alone. And so throughout this Being Challenge, I want you to really focus on these keystone habits. We're going to dig into those throughout this week, really kind of lay the surface level of them, and then we'll dive into them a little deeper over the weeks to come. But our first keystone habit is commit to community. So how can you commit to being in community, even in the midst of this crazy COVID time in which we're living? Find people that you can do life with, make phone calls, do some Zoom stuff, go for walks around the block, go on opposite sides of the street if you have to. Do what you need to do to be physically distant but socially connected. That's been our theme throughout this COVID time. So that's it. Your very first Being Challenge, day 1, your first keystone habit is commit to community, because it's not good that mankind is alone. All right, that's it, friends. That is today's daily dose of hope, your Being Challenge for today. Commit to community. We'll be back again tomorrow with your next keystone habit.